Strap in for a roller coaster ride where curiosity, humor, laughter, and the odd case of wisdom is applied to understanding the adventure of life.
Welcome to the Rawle and Gene Show, the power of coaching, guided by two knuckleheads who invite you to sit in the front car with them on this ride.
Trust us, it's not as serious as it sounds.
And high fives are included. Welcome to episode 24. We're out here, we're just dancing away, taking nothing personal today.
It's been a couple of weeks since we've heard that theme song. Trust us, it's not as serious as you think.
We are both alive and well and here to kick the show back going on. When you say, oh, you haven't heard that, be like, but if you follow us on any of the podcast platforms, make sure to smash that subscribe or follow on Apple and Spotify and Overcast, wherever you find us for the Rawle and Gene Show. I've heard that song quite a lot as we've been editing and putting out the clip or the whole episodes on those platforms. So definitely check us out and follow along.
Click and subscribe and follow and like and all those wonderful things. So anyway,
it makes me happy.
Welcome back. Yeah, we had a 2-week hiatus with life, and then I was sick and blah blah blah. So
and all the blah blah blahs. So,
well,
what's here for you today, man? How are you living?
Again, sorry?
I said, how are you living?
I'm living well. I mean, I was sick for about 3 weeks, and feeling human again. Caught the back to school virus. The kids all got sick, and I don't go anywhere, so they brought it home, and they went through their rotation of it, and then my sister started getting sick, and the next thing you know, oh, I'm sick. But it's been weird. But just a back to school fall virus. I'm not gonna use that big C word because it's just a damn virus now. But
you mean a cold?
Yes, that one. Yeah. So, but yeah, no, I'm feeling better. I still have a bit of a cough, very small. So hopefully by next week that'll be fully gone. And this is this week was my first week really back at, almost a full schedule of things to do. While I was sick, a couple of times I thought I was getting better. So I went and posted a couple of things, and then I was just like, oh yeah, no.
Yeah, and a number of people on within our circle as well had been feeling that. It's like, I'm getting better. Nope, no, I'm not. It's a little bit of a tease. The recovery
is struggling with it. So there's a lot of people I know that are sick right now, and it's an interesting bug. Hits people differently, but it's like every year the flu does that. Every year people get sick. Every year some people die from the flu. Some people get hospitalized. It's nothing new. Right? It's not new. But no, I'm good. I'm above ground. So
there it is.
I'm above ground, so I have nothing to complain about.
And Neil, we see you. Happy Friday to you as well, brother. Thanks for tuning in to the live.
Yeah, Mr. Networking guy now, Mr. Social guy. Neil's feeling it.
He's no longer Dr. Data. He might be Dr. Networking.
Dr. Networking, Dr. Love. Live on the Vegas Strip. So, but how you doing? How you living? How's life?
Living well. We were talking about the struggles. We didn't have the flu. We had an emergency situation with my wife's health, and so she's recovering and she's all good, but it definitely has an impact, and we're happy that she's recovering. And honestly, I personally feel good, like strong, healthy, been continuing the exercising, and it's just been a busy week. I'm working on prepping for my conversations with your saboteur workshop that I'm doing for insurance company next Thursday. So been really reworking through that. And it's interesting when you go back and you look at work that you've done. As a developer, I used to do that all the time. We build something, and then maybe 6 months later, you have to go back and add on to it or maintain it. You're like, who built this? Was this person oh my God, who did this? And you're like, oh, that was me. Shh, be quiet. We're going to fix it up now. And that's like the experience I'm having going through my workshop is looking at how I did the intro and just the things I've learned in the last 13 months since I last ran it is interesting to see how it's evolving and how the presenting of it is evolving.
Yeah. So I know the feeling because this week I've been working on the the you are worthy, the me I don't see workshops that are coming up, and I've been reaching out to people that have expressed an interest and setting up meetings because I want to talk with everyone before they sign up and just to see where they're at and all that stuff. So I've had to go back in and kind of look at it, and it's like, yeah, but I just have some fine tuning to do and maybe add it. I'm debating whether, because right now it's a 4-week thing. I might stretch it out. I don't know,
Yeah.
but it's I've been telling people I've been talking to, if you're thinking about 2024 and January 1st and resolution, and part of that is your own self care and your own your ability to really start understanding yourself in a different way. Then let's start this now and
Yeah.
not until January 1st. So yeah, so it would be interesting to see. I can't remember the last time I delivered this workshop, but every time I've delivered it, it's been received well. So we'll see how it goes with whatever fine tuning I do, and
I think that's an important component there is it's still received well. Like
yeah,
when I ran this workshop in the past, I always get incredible feedback from it.
yeah,
And it's interesting as I'm maturing, looking at this going, look, even if I ran it the way I did before, it would still get value. Value would be delivered.
yeah,
So what do I want out of this? And this is that place where I'm detaching from a previous version of criticism-itis, is like looking at going, wow, if that brought value and if I can figure out how to present this even better, that creates the on-ramp to more value versus, oh, I was bad at presenting then. Be like, no, it's a much different place to work from and actually experiment with this. It's like, ooh, can I get this thing? Can I amp up the audience to a point that the value is even greater?
yeah. And you got to be careful with that because it's like we were talking before we went on here. Going back to my football days, I was telling Gene about because his son plays football. Excuse me, his son plays football for Rutland Secondary, and they got a brilliant coach. But I was telling him about when I was coaching. I coached at KSS, but then I coached in community football. And the year my team won, we won provincial. We made it to the finals, and it's like everything. You're always trying to improve things, and there's nothing wrong with that. But sometimes, you even as a coach, you kind of outcoach yourself. It's like, okay, we're playing this big team and they're fast and this and that. So I got to put in. So I put in this special offense, and we had a week, couple of practices to try to get it down. Anyway, game day came. I put it in, and we're running it, and we're just flat, and it's just not working. And I realized, okay, coach, what got you here to the dance? It's time to go back to that. So it's a balancing thing there. There's nothing wrong with improving things. Like the You Are Worthy workshop that came about because a friend of mine who's a counselor herself, well known in BC now, asked me if I would do something to work with her clients. And that's how this came about. And, she really loved it. And then I did it again with another one of her counselors. So I've been doing this workshop now for, well over 5 years. And I don't know if it's changed at the core. You obviously fine tune certain things, but, if it ain't broke, they all say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, if it ain't broke, doesn't mean you can't fine tune it. But if it ain't broke, just try not to do too much where you don't recognize it because, as you're saying, well, if I do this, I could bring greater value.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually just coming from your perspective because you don't know what you're
I
doing.
won't know until we actually run it. So
Exactly.
that's the other thing is like I know the pieces. Like this is a very guided thing. A lot of participation. That part hasn't changed. I've actually like cleaned up the grammar of the questions that we run through, but the structure of that is still the same. It's learning how now to like set the framework, or as my friend Neil says, set the table before you jump into it. And I think we've talked a lot about this when we were working on our stuff earlier in the years. Like, how do we set the table to let everyone know what's going to happen, and then being in the container with them, going through it, and then at the end repeating it, going, this is what we took away and how we did it. And it's just like there's a bit of, and at the core of it, it's still the same. It's just getting into it and setting it up is going to be hopefully less jarring.
Yeah, for me, we could do all that until you actually deliver. You don't know what's going to come out of it. And every time you do it, different results, different participants. This is why a lot of times, I have things that are structured and then I fly by the seat of my pants.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of went through that when I was working with you. It's like, I trust in the moment and I trust what's showing up because, the way I look at it, when I put together a workshop and a presentation, that's kind of like an expectation.
Yeah.
But then once I start doing it, I let go of that and go, okay, let's see what comes from it. Let's see what resonates with the people. What do they want to talk about, particularly in this workshop?
What we're going to do while we're talking about Rawle's workshop,
I'm dropping
the link. I'm dropping the link in, baby.
Yeah. Well, we'll do more promoting on it. But it's just getting people to a place where, again, the biggest thing for me is about being brutally honest with yourself, number one, in regards to, what you want, what you believe. It's time for you to let go of. And the question is now, do you have the courage to step into the discomfort, to step into the abyss and to deal with it? Because it doesn't happen overnight. And again, going back to the topic of the show, basically of not taking things personally, even with yourself, it's that in this moment, where am I? Because where I was yesterday and 2 weeks ago and a year ago and 5 years ago, it's not the same place that I am now. No. So it's to some degree, I always have the expectations, but then let go of the expectations and then accept what comes. It's the same thing, being don't take it personally. Well, you got to be balanced with that. We are people. We're going to take things personal. The question is, when you're taking it personally, why are you taking it personal? Kind of goes back to, when I talk to people about trigger. What is being presented to you, is there truth in it? And if there's truth in it, why are you getting triggered? Well, if there's truth in it, why are you taking it personal, where you're becoming out of balance with it? Right. So you're going to take things personally because we are people. We're emotional people that have feelings and experiences. So it's like, it's like an algebra equation. What you do to one side, you have to do to the other. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction or response.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just about balance. Taking it personally is just that. It's about being balanced. For those of you that may have read the book, The Four Agreements, and if you haven't read The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, I invite you to do so.
It's a great book.
It's a great
easy read too.
Yeah, it's like maybe 240 something pages of that. Maybe 175 is about the core agreements.
Yeah.
And it's just old Toltec wisdom from way back in the day that's still applicable today. And the four agreements are very simple. Be impeccable with your words. Say what you mean what you say. Don't take things personally. No one gets out of bed going, how the hell am I going to get Gene today? I'm going to screw him today. And even if they do, it's really not you. All they're doing is projecting what they hold inside of them. The third is not to make assumptions. Always ask questions. for clarity, seeking clarity. And then the last one is doing your best. And the doing your best isn't about perfection. Doing your best is about how am I incorporating the first three agreements in my daily practice.
Yeah. And I think one thing about this topic of not taking it personally that I draw back to that last agreement is the concept that the best is fluid. The best is what you have reached to in this moment. It's, take, for example, you were sick and we had some health troubles here. Was our best the same as it was 3 weeks ago? No, because the situation was different, but we still did our best within what we had available to us, right? So how do you do your best to what's available to you right now? And there's a component of like, just to, I think we talk about this, is you don't see it better or worse than it is. Be like, what is available? Am I going to leave any space for regret in this moment? No. So I'm going to use up the entire moment.
Yeah.
Is it for rest? Is it for recovery? Is it for working on our workshops? Is it doing more podcasts? Whatever it is and whatever we have available to us, we do that. And then there's not taking that stuff personally for it being at a different level than it was the day before, the week before, or a week into or how it will be into the future.
Yeah. Showing up, just dealing with what shows up.
Mm-hmm.
And not being afraid to look back and go, okay, I've experienced this before, and when this has shown up, what did I do back then? You said an interesting thing with regards to dealing with what shows up and not taking it personally. Part of that, you mentioned the word regret. And a lot of times we do have regret in the moment because we'll step it. When something happens, we'll quickly flash, oh, that happened before, and I did that. I didn't like that. This thing about regret. I find it to be a very interesting word because we use that word and we act like somehow we can go back and undo what has been done. It's like trying to unbake a cake. Once a cake is baked, you cannot unbake it. You either eat it or you throw it out and start again. So to me,
that's a beautiful metaphor, because once you use up those raw ingredients, they'll never go back to their original form.
There's no way.
You'll have cake crumble, or you'll have garbage, or you'll have a full tummy, depending on how you've made that cake and what you're willing to stomach.
And if it really is terrible, you throw it out. If it's all right, then you still force yourself and you eat it. But then recognize, what? I'm the one that created the cake. So if I can't unbake it, there's no point in having regrets. What I can do is to learn from it. And this is where, you're taking things personally. A lot of times it's like we're out of balance. Excuse me, we're out of balance with our feelings, with our emotions in regards to what's showing up. And what's showing up, or we're basing on what's showing up and what has happened before, as opposed to it can happen again.
Yeah.
But if I stay focused and present in the moment, I can actually see what is showing up. What is it really asking of me? Right? Going back, if we're talking about, don't take things personally, the second agreement, then going back in, like the 7 habits, the very first habit of being proactive, taking that moment, that gap between what shows up and before you react and respond, going, what is this really asking of me? And while you're doing that, am I in check with my feelings? Am I in check with the emotions of what showed up, to go, there's no need to take this personally, in the sense of it's somehow showing up to harm me. It's showing up as it is. The harm in it is how I choose to perceive what's showing up. The harm in it is me judging or being judgmental with what's showing up and making assumptions that it might harm me, when you don't know that until you let it play out. And even if it does harm you, why is it harming you? Why are you perceiving it as harming you? Right. So it's just about, like I said, it's about being balanced and just understand, for every action, there's an opposite
consequence.
There's an opposite reaction. For every choice, there's consequences. And negative or positive. They're not good or bad. They're just an end result to a choice. And if you don't like the consequences, change the choice. If you don't know how to change the choice, then you got to go back and go, okay, what am I thinking? What's my thought process? What am I ruminating on that's allowing me to want to take these things personally?
Right. And I hear where we started earlier, where, you know, you said some people might not be getting out of bed just to screw you over. They may be, but like you said, it says it's more about what's happening within them. But that's not what I want to focus on. Is like when they send that energy your way, you could choose to crank it just back just as hard and give them their own medicine. You could, but then you're going to have to ask yourself, take responsibility for that redirection of the energy. Now, the energy, if we believe that energy is neither created nor destroyed, it's always transformed. Well, that negative energy that you know, someone trying to screw you over is coming your way. What are you going to do with it? You're going to take that in. You can take a moment to pause, like Rawle says, be proactive in the pause and adjust and choose to redirect it and to use it into your favor. I almost think of it like judo is where that sport is all about using your opponent's energy against them.
Energy, yep.
Right? It's like you could come at it being mad, or you could come at it being incredibly centered, going, okay, this is what's happening. Someone is attempting to do something towards me, which may have is forcing me to make different choices about how I'm going to show up. And Rawle, there's a component of where Rawle's right. It's like there will be harm, but that choice of the suffering about it, that's your choice. You can suffer in that all you want, or you can be like, this sucks. What am I going to do about it? Yeah. What choices are available to me? And that's where that part of like removing the personalness of it out is like, how many choices is actually this action that's coming at me opening up? And the more choice you have, all of a sudden you're like, huh, I can do a whole bunch about this.
There's a whole lot.
I can be an asshole. I can be an asshole right back. And if you're good with that, fuck, do it. Sometimes a bully needs to be punched in the face.
I'm just gonna say that. Speaking
Right.
This way and saying all that. Sorry, I'm sorry. Did I cut you off? Finish your thought.
Of course you did. I have no idea where the train was going now.
Why are you attacking me like that?
Taking this very personally, Rawle.
Taking it personally
right now. Journal. Dear Journal, Rawle cut me off on our podcast today. Geez. What do you think that means?
He's an asshole. But no, my thing is sometimes anger is warranted. Sometimes matching their energy is warranted. My thing is, whatever you do, own it.
Yes, that's the
own
thing.
it. To me, being out of balance is when you make a choice where you choose to confront a situation with anger, and then afterwards you don't want to own it. And that says to me, then you're not good with anger, because it serves a purpose. As spiritual as I am, if you attack me and you try to physically harm me, I'll put my spiritual foot up your ass. And I'm good with that. I am good with that. Right? So whatever 100%. It is that you do, own it.
I think that's the bottom line of all this is like, life is going to come at you. Some of it is going to be great and rainbows and sunshines, and some of it is going to be somebody's shitting on your parade. And whatever you do with that, our goal with this show and with our coaching and our workshops and all the things that we do is like, the bottom line, we want you to own it and be good with it, right? And understand that you can act from those places proactively, stopping, using the Rawle's famous first rules is stop. But there's this component of not taking it personally and going, how am I going to react? What does this actually call for? Where does this action align to my values? And am I prepared to take complete and brutal accountability for all of this?
Yeah.
No honesty. This is brutal accountability, radical accountability. Am I going to take accountability for this and be right with it? when you're like, yes, 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 fire.
Yeah. I think a lot of when people do this type of work, that self-empowerment, self-awareness, self-mastery, whatever term you want to use with it, is that, oh, I always got to take the high road. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. There's nothing that you have to do that I say. That's why I rarely ever tell anyone you have to do this. I just invite you. You don't have to do a damn thing that anyone says, particularly me. But if what you're doing is not working for you, then the invitation, not just from me, but from the universe, for whatever divine means to you, is going, there's another way to deal with these things. Are you ready to deal with it? And if you're struggling with understanding that, then there's things inside of you that are blocking you from that. Are you ready to remove those blocks so you can see? And even when you remove those blocks, doesn't mean you're not going to get angry, right? I don't take things personally. I say try, very rarely try not to take things personally. That doesn't mean I don't. That doesn't mean I don't. I'm still
Wait, Rawle, are
human.
you as well?
Um,
Are you human as well?
well, that's why I just said I'm human. Some people goes, I had a couple of friends who go, good to see you're human. I go, why would you not think so? He goes, well, you don't seem to let too much bother you. I go, you're right. Not too much bothers me.
Yeah.
Too much doesn't mean nothing.
None.
Things can still bother me. I have no problems with anger anymore. I used to be a very angry man. There's a difference between being angry and getting angry. And people want anger to just go away. Good luck with that.
No,
That's
it's part
not
of us.
going to happen. That's part of us. It's part of the emotional spectrum. It's a healthy thing if you understand it. So I have no problems with getting angry. I'm just not an angry man anymore. And that angry man is still inside. He still wants to flare up. But who's in charge? So when you talk about self-mastery and self-awareness and self-empowerment, the first part of all of those is self.
Yeah.
I choose not to let that angry man breathe and live the way he used to. That does not mean I cannot get angry. That does not mean I will not get angry, because I'm good with my anger. At least I like to think so. I may be fooling myself, but until further notice, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
So to me, that's when we talk about don't take it personally. That's what it's really meaning. It's like, are you in charge of you?
Hmm.
And whatever
Yes.
whatever choice you make, own the consequences of that choice. Don't look to
Let's
make it.
recap some of the things we've identified here is when we're on our journey of not taking this personally. What I've heard here today so far is be open to the choices. It's an opportunity. If you're taking it personally, what other choices aren't you seeing? Explore those. What's coming at you is energy, and you can. This is another choice, but that's that step of being proactive. Is going. How do I want to respond with this? Is this connected to your values about how you're going to respond, and following in about taking utter and complete accountability for how you respond?
Yeah.
These are the starting steps of getting right with this, what feels like a journey of being not taking shit personally.
Yeah. And to me, one of the biggest barometers lives inside of you. You know when you're doing something and it doesn't feel right. You know when you're doing it, you don't like how you're feeling as you're doing it. If you're truly being honest with yourself, you can pay attention to that and go, oops, I just put my foot on a path down the slippery slope. Before I take a next step and I can't come back up, I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop. I don't like how I'm feeling right now in regards to what I'm doing. We all know it. Yeah. It's just like with anger. The first anger is usually at yourself, especially when you just react. Or there's times you'll say something, and as soon as it exits your mouth, it's like, oh, I'm trying to grab it back. Oh, too late.
Yeah.
Right?
Be like, oh, gonna have to own this.
You have to own it. So that's what I'm saying. Whatever it is, whether you respond or you react, own it. Yeah. Right? Own it. And then again, choice, consequences, and there's gonna be another choice, more consequences, another choice, more consequences.
It's like the ball just keeps on going. It's like, is this part of life?
This is
He
part of
asked
life.
inquisitively while being a little sarcastic,
Yeah.
because that's part of his joy, right? Like, this isn't about a right or wrong. This is an invitation to get right with how you show up, knowing, just like Rawle was saying earlier, he doesn't let too much get to him. The reality is, you're never going to bat 100, but are you willing to improve your batting average when these things come up for you in your life? Are there areas in your life where, like, oh, I get a lot more of that queasy feeling than I'd like to experience? Can you start to reduce it?
Yeah.
It's not about getting rid of it totally, because let's be realistic with ourselves and give ourselves some grace. Is like, it took us a long time of accepting that, getting okay with like living with that queasy feeling. It's going to take some time to build the muscles and the capacity to step in and beyond whatever the reason is that you've chosen to do the queasy feeling. You know, me as I jokingly call myself a recovering people pleaser, is like, it still takes time for when it's just like, oh, it's so easy to say this counterfeit yes just to not have the conflict or avoid something, versus going no. And it's like, oh, it wasn't as bad as I thought. Okay, cool. But that takes time, right? It's like working out. It's like fixing your diet. It's like dealing with anything else in our body from a physical standpoint. Is like, it takes time. It took time to get into disrepair, and it will take time to get into that place where you're like, oh, I feel it. It becomes natural. It's habitual.
And
it just takes time.
It's part of the process. You know, it's like, you're going to fall.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's not about right or wrong, good or bad. It's about, you're going to fall. It's called life. But the only way you can get up is by falling. So instead of beating yourself up because you fell, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and go, okay, what do I need to learn from this experience? Because more than likely it will happen again. And maybe not the exact experience, but you will fall again, and you will rise, and you will fall again, you will rise. We beat ourselves up because we fell down. Well, why would you beat yourself up for something that is a natural part of the process of life? The question is, are you going to get up? How are you going to get up? And what are you going to learn from the experience of falling down?
Mm-hmm.
That is life. And every time you fall and you get up and you learn, you are adding to your resiliency tank. Resiliency comes from harsh and negative experiences of life, not necessarily the good and beautiful. Not that it doesn't contribute to it, but we tend to add to our resiliency tank from the harshness, from the hard experiences, by getting up and dusting ourselves and going, what do I need to learn? Right.
What I love about that metaphor of the resilience tank is, like, you're right. When you hit the hard, the negative, the unpleasant, it grows the tank. But the good, bad, or the good and beautiful actually fill the tank. Is like, oh, we've got all this now good experience, more capacity to hold more good experience too. That's the flip side of making the choice of dealing with it and going, will this make me more resilient? Please don't let it be the thing that shuts you off from life. But are you going to be more open to the choice, more open to listening to your heart, your body, and connecting this with your mind, and going, how do I fill this tank? Because I am going to fall again. Wouldn't it be nice if I had a little cushion? What if I learned actually how to fall with grace? Be like, I see like Chris Farley or, Jim Carrey or Steve Martin, where they do these incredible skits where these men are falling across the stage and standing up and going, ta-da! We're back in it.
That's right? What it is. Fall down and go, ta-da! One of the questions I ask in the You Are Worthy workshop, and for those that will sign up, if you do, I'll ask you this question. Are you worthy of the negative and harsh experiences of your life? Because when we hear worthy, we only think of good and beautiful. Right? If you're being honest with yourself, whenever someone says, you know, you're worthy, you automatically think of good things. So I ask the question, are you worthy of the harsh and negative experiences of your life? And for me, the answer is, yeah, I am. You know, it's like a bank account. One of the things that they teach you in the 7 Habits, the emotional bank account. You can't withdraw from an account if you haven't deposited anything in it.
Oh, is that how that works?
That's apparently how that works. So you have to ask yourself, what am I depositing into my emotional bank account? Because if I'm depositing only so-called negative feelings and feelings of taking things personally, but then I want to withdraw something different, how does that work?
Yeah.
So you have to be cognitive of what you're depositing within you. You have to be cognitive of not so much what you're depositing, it's already in there. What are you going to let out? What are you going to identify with to say, you know what? I want different consequences. So if I want different consequences, then I must understand my choices and master the choices that I am making. And where does that come from? Well, then I really have to understand thoughts and how that works and stop beating myself up for all the thoughts that show up and focus on the thoughts that I want to add into my internal conversation that I will then play over and over and then bring to manifest into this physical world. Because contrary to what the spiritual community would like to tell you, well, thoughts become things. Not every one of my thoughts become things. Because if that's the case, there'll be a lot of people.
How about we just stop it right there?
I'll just leave it. This is why we're partners. But it's true. Not everything that not every thought becomes things.
Yeah.
I always found that statement to be very interesting. It's out of balance. And to me, the universe and we, a part of the universe, is about balance, balance, balance. So I have learned now to whatever thoughts show up, they show up.
Yeah.
I am in charge of which thoughts I'm going to give my attention to. I'm the one in charge of which thought I'm going to give my attention to, and then I'm going to work to manifesting them. Right? And the other ones, let them be.
Let them go. It's the meditation concept of when you've got those thoughts, you just put them on the stream. Let them float down the stream. You don't have to be attached or owning to any of those things. And what I hear Rawle talking about takes us all the way back to his cake metaphor, is through this all, you go, I don't like how this tastes. Maybe I'm going to put a different ingredient in to begin with. I don't know if I'm going to like the taste of it, but I know it won't be this taste. And I'm happy enough to do that. Just looking for a different consequence of what you're experiencing is enough, because you might not actually know what it is that's going to taste great. Yeah. Sometimes you got to experiment a little bit, make a whole bunch of cakes and go, I found the winner. Actually, I've got 3 winners. Even better. Now I have an assortment of things that I can enjoy. Right? Now you've got choice. Now we're back to being empowered.
My sister, because it was Thanksgiving last weekend, she brought an apple pie and a cherry pie. And then when we opened up the cherry pie, because the box said cherry, it wasn't a cherry pie. It was a rhubarb pie. So when I opened it up and I took a slice of apple and I took a slice of cherry. And as I'm eating it, I'm like, what kind of cherry is this? I felt like I was eating like a marble, and then it was like a root. And I'm like, oh my God, this is rhubarb pie. So then I told my sister, she goes, yeah. I realized that they put the wrong pie in the wrong box. So then she goes, and then she tried to put some ice cream on it to see if she could mask it. It didn't work. So sometimes, you could try to put, lipstick on a pig. It's still going to be a pig. It's still going to be a rhubarb pie. So if
rhubarb pie is delicious.
I am not a rhubarb pie fan at all. But some people like it. But for me, I ate it because I don't like wasting food.
And it's pie. We've got episodes about you and your pie eating.
Pie and cake are my thing. So, but again, the simple lesson is, well, I can't unbake this pie. We can either throw it out, and we had only not even eaten a quarter of it. My sister said, no, I'm going to take it back and let them know. Maybe there's other pies like that. The box says cherry, but they put, it happens. They put the wrong pie
It
in.
happens.
And they were glad to exchange it. It's like, she goes, I don't want the money back. She goes, I just want a cherry pie. And they gave her. But to me, it's the same thing. It's like, okay, we can't unbake this. We either throw it out or we come up with another solution. And the other solution was
I love the solution of sometimes you got to take the rhubarb pie back and ask for the cherry. It's like
sometimes you have to eat the rhubarb if it's on your plate. For someone like me, I hate wasting food. So
you're gonna eat the pie.
Just rub me the wrong way to throw it away. It's not my favorite at all, but it also didn't kill me.
Yeah.
And it was valuable. It just reminded me of the things that we do. It's like, hey, when life gives you a rhubarb pie, you sometimes have to eat it.
And sometimes you just got to take 3/4 of that thing back and ask for the cherry pie.
Yeah, but don't eat 3/4 and then try to go back and get more. It's like, but it's just life. We have, it's the process. We have the good, the bad, the ugly, and the beautiful to go through in this life. And we're going to fall down. That's part of the process. The only way you can get up is if you have fallen. So there's a value to falling. The question is, are you going to learn? Because you're going to fall. You're going to continue to fall. I'm 62 now, and man, I got a lot more falling to do before I take my last.
We're going to watch out for his hips, though, at this age now.
Well, we got to watch out for a lot of things at this age. It's not the age so much. It's just what the body has gone through with all the sports and stuff that I've done. But then again, it's funny you mentioned that because, I have a chronic groin issue and hip and rotator cuff and blah, blah, blah. And all of it from playing sports, rugby, football, blah, blah, blah. And when my hip really, or my groin really acts up, I'm not going to say never. I rarely ever sit down and I wish and what. Whenever it acts up, I actually remembered how I actually heard it playing playing rugby. And the play that it happened on was pretty glorious for me. So whenever it acts up, I remember that moment. I have no regrets about it. If someone could take me back and go, if you play all these sports when you're an older man, your body's got, I'd be like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm still doing it.
I'm still going to do it. Why? Because I enjoyed playing sports. And there are consequences to everything. Once again, once you've made the choice, are you willing to accept all the consequences that come from that choice? Not some, all of them. So
I love this. And I'm thinking about the consequences as we're looking at the time. The consequence of a great conversation is that time just kind of evolves and runs out on us.
Yeah, but you see how our internal clock is working now because we're 1 minute from cutting it off. So now we've built in the experience of knowing, okay, we're at the 45-minute mark. Time for Rawle to shut up.
We're going to put the hook on him and just pull him off the stage. Lights are flashing. The orchestra is playing the music.
Because it's not that serious. Another great.
All right, before we wrap everything up, we're going to leave you all with the coaching tip around not taking it personally. It's not about you. Our interactions and relationships often revolve around mutual exchanges, yet the focal point isn't always ourselves. We ask that you reflect on these questions this week. How often do you make situations, conversations, or reactions about you? Can you recall a time when distancing your feelings led to a deeper understanding of a situation or person? And last, how can stepping back from a self-centered viewpoint improve your relationships and your interactions in your life? Hopefully these are things that you can help and ponder on and take from what we've talked about today. Until next week, my name's Gene, that's Rawle, and this has been the Gene and Rawle Show. We will see you either on YouTube, LinkedIn, or you may hear us on Apple and Spotify. Make sure to hit that like button and follow on whatever platform you're on. Until next week, we'll talk to you then. Oh, one last thing. It's the legal language. This podcast is presented solely for educational and entertainment purposes. It is not intended as a substitute for the advice of a physician, professional coach, psychotherapist, or other qualified professionals.